Elizabeth Warren recently tore into the Fed chair for punishing struggling Americans. Thank you, Elizabeth Warren. God bless. What does it take for her to get a position of leadership where, I mean, she's obviously a vocal leader, but I'm talking about why can't we think of her as somebody who could be the president of this country? I mean, what is that? This woman's brilliant. And she's called it out, hasn't she? She said the Fed is out of control. The Fed keeps, raising interest rates and putting people out of work.
Yeah, and it's, slow walking us right to recession. I think the fears have subsided a little. We still could be looking at one, middle of next year or early beginning. So the Fed is getting all these warnings, and that's what Elizabeth Warren is doing. She was also joined by Bernie Sanders and Katie Porter.
Yeah.
They all sign on to this.
Love all of them.
Yeah, great, real corporate fighters here.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth Warren, again, most vocal on this, telling him, you're putting Americans out of work. When you raise these interest rates, and the Fed's admitted that's the goal, we want more people out of work, and you're punishing the struggling people instead of the corporations price gouging us every day.
Isn't the math easy? I mean, isn't it easy? You raise interest rates. A corporation says we need to cut back because we need we got to keep a profit margin.
Yeah.
And whatever they have to do to keep the profit margin, they're going to do it. Whether it means laying people off, they're going to take benefits away from workers. They're going to pay them less money. They're going to make it very difficult for the American worker because they can. And that's what the Fed says, that's a good idea. That's exactly what we want. And as we're looking at this, you pointed out just now, there's an easier way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go after the price gougers. If you got an oil industry, we did a show on this a couple of weeks ago, $18 billion in one quarter for one company, $12 billion in one quarter for another company, $8 billion for another. The numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
But the president and the Congress, I'll be damned if they'll say, you're going to stop your price gouging to the energy industry or to the pharmaceutical industry.
And we know exactly why. We have another story, once again from Common Dreams, because they crunched the numbers. They found that all of these pieces of legislation that were going to fight corporate price gouging, on average, more than 1,000 corporate lobbyists per bill going to D.C. to make sure these things never happen.
2,600 lobbyists. Did you see that number?
Yeah.
2,600 lobbyists went to D.C. when we started talking about we can have price controls. We can have windfall taxes. We can stop all this. They sent 2,600 lobbyists to stop it. And these bonehead, bottom feeder politicians, Joe, just give me a little extra money on my campaign and we'll look the other way. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're looking the other way, even though there's a lot of history here. Volcker made the same mistake, put us into recession. Greenspan made the same mistake, put us into recession. Right now we're at 8% inflation, 8%. The Fed says we have to get down to 2%. Can you imagine the suffering that's going to take?
No, we're going to end up having to get unemployment up to 10% if we want to hit that number. And of course, that means people suffer instead of addressing the real causes of these problems. And again, we're at the point the United Nations has stepped in.
Isn't that embarrassing?
Yeah.
Isn't that embarrassing? The United Nations coming and saying...
They're telling Powell, you're ruining the global economy.
Yeah.
You have to stop this. And Warren, Sanders, Katie Porter, they know the plan. They know what to do, and that would work. But nobody wants to listen to these people because they make too much sense, I guess.
Yeah, profiteering is fine, but the other side of it, let's let corporations profiteer. Let's let them price gouge. And oh, by the way, as we do that, we're going to take benefits away from workers. We're going to lower their wages. We're going to make it more difficult for them to get jobs. This idea of any flexibility where a worker has right now, it's going to disappear. More than 1 million Americans with diabetes have had to ration their insulin in the last year, thanks to soaring costs. Well, this is a policy failure. I mean, this is a top-of-the-line policy failure. There was all this celebration when Congress comes out and say, we've done it. We're controlling the pharmaceutical industry. Nonsense. That is the biggest bunch of bunk I've ever heard delivered. And what it came down to is they said, we have 12 items that we're going to control prices on. And oh, by the way, if a product hasn't been on the market more than 12 years, we can't do anything about it, right? Yeah. So pick that up with insulin in mind.
Insulin, obviously this is not a life-saving drug. This is a life-sustaining drug.
Yes.
They will die without it. 1.3 million people in the last 12 months have said, I've had to ration it. I can't afford it. And this is, as we have talked about so many times, a uniquely American problem. This doesn't happen anywhere else on the planet other than within our borders because we choose as a country to let this happen. The politicians have made the choice and they have said, we're going to let the pharmaceutical companies do whatever they want, charge whatever they want, take as much money from us to subsidize their research as they want. And then there's no controls.
Let me talk about that just a second. Eli Lilly, now you talk about R&D basic, subsidized research. But that's a ridiculous. I mean, that's ridiculous. You've done stories on the whole research and development, how stupid that argument is. Let me put it in terms of how stupid it is. Okay, Eli Lilly has had their insulin product on the market since 1996. All the research is done, all the development is done, but nevertheless, they have raised the price 680%. As of today, 680%. There is no argument. There's no argument that it's about research and development. It's about advertising, okay? Yep. Now, which brings me to the next point. There's only one other country on the entire globe that allows the pharmaceutical company to go on TV and say, hey, tell your doctor you want this new drug. It's New Zealand and it's the United States. And that has a big impact on the prices of these drugs because they're spending gazillion dollars with MSNBC and CNN and ABC, to make that happen.
And it's interesting because we've been talking about the direct-to-consumer advertising since I think 2004 on Ring of Fire. Yeah. And what happened is doctors were furious, and they still are, but I think most of them have almost been bought off at this point by the pharmaceutical industry. But doctors were mad at the time because instead of patients coming in and saying what was wrong and the doctor giving recommendations, patients came in like they were ordering from McDonald's, saying, listen, okay, I want Celebrex, I want some Vioxx, I want all these things. The people on the commercial were so happy, I want to feel happy too.
Right.
And doctors were furious when this first all started coming together. And like I said, now they get paid off by the pharmaceutical companies.
And it affects the price of insulin.
Yeah.
Or anything, because they build that into their pricing structure. Again, Eli Lilly, since 1996, has made this, put it on the market. No research and development since 1996. It's raised 680%. Zero possibility of a reason.
And they can do it too because they know this isn't a drug. Yeah, it's not a baldness drug that people say, well, I guess I'm not going to do it. This is a drug that people have to take or they die.
Yeah.
Or they die.
And they're splitting, they're rationing. Do I eat? Do I buy clothes? Or do I buy insulin to stay alive? It's a pathetic story. Oh, good news here. California, every now and then they come up with a great idea. Yeah. They said, hell with that. We're gonna produce our own insulin. I mean, I love that. You just got to love that.
Yeah.